Welcome to Booktopia TV. I'm here with Aaron Patrick, author of Downfall. I've just read the Downfall over the weekend. As an old Labor man, I'm a little ashamed of what's been going on in the Labor Party. The book clearly explains a lot of the different scandals that have been going on. What prompted you to write the book?
Well, John, what I wanted to do was try and explain how the Labor Party could go from this triumph in 2007, when it controlled, every state government in Australia and the federal government, to now, where it's in ruinous shape and it looks like it's going to lose the election. But I also wanted to tell not just a straight political story, but a really interesting story. So I've written it in a kind of detective novel type way, and what I've really done is sort of charted the scandals of, I've charted what went wrong with the party to try and explain why it's in such bad shape.
Well, for someone who keeps an eye on the news and is aware of these scandals but hasn't got the time to go into great depth, reading Downfall gave me a much better view. You present the facts and you allow us to make our own decisions, and you don't go too extreme. You just show this is what's been happening. A lot of these people haven't been through the courts. It's just allegations at this point, and also it's an examination I felt of what is behind these kinds of scandals. What has caused these kinds of disruptions within the Labor Party? And you chart Bill Shorten's career quite closely. Why Bill Shorten?
Well, Bill Shorten was kind of a vehicle to tell the broader story of modern Labor. And I knew Bill, I was in Young Labor myself, and I knew Bill very well. But it seems to me his career through the union movement as a Labor lawyer, into Parliament, and Bill Shorten was one of that very small group of men who in their first term of office, they've been in Parliament less than 3 years, removed a sitting Prime Minister. And in many ways that decision in 2010 to dump Kevin Rudd sowed the problems that are affecting the Labor Party so badly today. So I wanted to try and explain how could this small group, and how could this one man, and he was pretty young at the time, take this momentous decision to bring out a Prime Minister, and how could he pull it off? And what does his career say about where the Labor Party is at the moment? And I guess what I've said is the Labor Party's in a tough spot. They've got an ex-president who's been charged with very serious offences. Basically, their top faction leader in New South Wales, Eddie Obeid, has been accused of corrupt dealings. You've got the man who essentially kept them in power for 3 years, Craig Thompson, is accused of spending union money on prostitutes. They got Peter Slipper in as the Speaker. He's got a pretty dubious background, which I go to in some detail. So these are pretty amazing, colourful, and in some ways very sleazy characters. And I sort of wanted to explain, well, how did they get there? How did this all happen?
Well, you do chart the demise of Labor in New South Wales, and then the demise of Labor in Queensland as well. There is great chance that we see a complete annihilation of Labor in the next election if they don't get their act together. Is Australia better or worse off without a strong Labor Party?
What I try and argue in the book is that the health of the Labor Party matters to all Australians. So if you're for or against the Labor Party, you still want a strong, democratic, responsible Labor Party operating. Because obviously you want clean government when Labor's in power, and when Labor's in opposition, you want a good, healthy opposition who can, put pressure on the government to bring about good public policy. So in a way, the book's tough love. It's trying to say, Labor Party, hey, look, this is where you've gone wrong, and these are some of the things you have to fix. And so it's in a way it advocates for a Labor Party, but you don't have to be a Labor Party supporter to get something from the book, I hope.
Aren't you afraid that you might become the poster boy for the right wing, or the radical right wing, and be on the laps of everyone calling into Alan Jones?
Well, look, if all the Alan Jones listeners want to read it, that's a great thing, because hopefully they'll get something new out of it. But at my heart, I'm a journalist. I'm a professional independent journalist. I'm a senior editor at the Financial Review, and I've tried to bring some objectivity to the book. So I'm hoping that people from the left and from the right can learn something and get something from it. I'm definitely not trying to push an ideological agenda. I've really just tried to make a very thorough but very readable piece of journalism.
Well, it does read like I mean, some of the true crime books I've read, where you get that sense of distance, and you're just chronicling these things happened. These things are on the record, they've happened. I just want to take a closer look at them. And for me, as someone who hopes for a better future for Labor, you know, I was gnawing my teeth, gnashing my teeth, and getting a little upset. But I understand that it's something that we have to look at. We have to try and mend and fix, and we do have to do a lot of work. And you know, so you've got me thinking about it and how we can sort of get back on track, and how Australian politics, both sides, can get back on track.
Well, one of the things too, John, is that a lot of political books, perhaps even most political books, are extremely serious. Now, my book's a serious book, but I also hope that it's a very readable book. And I use some of the techniques from fiction, even from crime fiction, to try and build suspense and keep the story rolling along. So I would hope that a lot of people who might not normally want to pick up a political book would consider this one, because I think they'll find it a good read, as well as, you know, entertaining and informative.
Well, I found myself returning to it again and again. I kept picking it up, going on to the next phase of because it's segments, and you sort of drop into different scandals and different parts of Labor history, and I rolled on and rolled on and rolled on. I read it in a weekend, and I found there was a lot in there for me. I mean, I'm not that involved in the political world. I have an interest in it, and we all should. But I found myself turning pages and getting through it. So I highly recommend it to anybody who has an interest and wants to know a bit more about Labor's last 5-6 years.
Well, John, thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Thank you for coming in to Booktopia.
You're welcome.
Downfall is available from Booktopia.